They say we are defined by the villains we oppose and the battles we choose to fight. We are shaped and shape the world around us by standing up for what we see as right. This is true even if you're a giant yellow cyclops beast.
That are alive, coming with me.
ZX Spider-Man Commodore 128 and 64. I hit the floor, I hit the shore. Got gaming skills from days of yore. I close the deck, computer rolls, playing till my hands are sore.
Welcome to Beefsteak Nerdcast. I'm the Rahi Wrangler, Bolter. The world of Bionicle is... well, it's weird. The Matoran universe is filled with biomechanical life forms that are a rough approximation of the human world. And then we've got the weird stuff, like the gaseous entities that inhabit living suits of armor to survive. And then we've got the eldritch horrors beyond understanding or rational comprehension. And believe you me, most of them are pissed off. One of the more normal aspects of the universe might actually be the Rahi. Rahi are what pass for wildlife in the Matoran universe. Bears, sharks, spiders, you name it, and it's probably kicking around somewhere in the universe in some way, shape, or form. Of course, this isn't a one-for-one comparison. There are things like horse-sized crabs, car-sized birds, and literal dragons that are native to the world. But unlike our world, Rahi were not born. They were built. Designed, tested, and constructed to serve a purpose for the universe. At least at first. Who are their creators? Well, the creators of the Rahi are a group that most fans of Bionicle will be familiar with. The Brotherhood of Makuta. If you just flinched, you know why that's a problem. The Brotherhood, at first, made every Rahi to serve a purpose. Predator, prey, pollinator, even guard dogs. Well, guard crabs. But over time, this a place for everything, everything in its place practice began to get stale for them. And the scientists in the Brotherhood were far too intelligent to let a little thing like ethics be a hurdle for their genius. They created a Rahi species that would push the limits of advancement, towering, powerful, and wise Rahi called the Kitongu. The Kitongu Rahi were physically strong, quiet, and had a projectile in their chest called a Rotuka spinner for self-defense. They also had the incredible ability to create antidotes to any poison known to them. They were given an island in the north of the Matoran universe for their population, and the species mostly kept to themselves, living peaceful agrarian lives with the Tetarak dragons they used as mounts. But this would not last. The Visorak Horde came. An ancient, intelligent, invasive species of spider-like Rahi with vast numbers and a murderous nature. The Horde would spread itself from island to island unchecked, ambushing prey with webs, killing with a variety of deadly poisons, and crushing defenses with sheer massive numbers. And they had found the island of the Kitongu. The Kitongu were not passive. They fought back bravely, each one a match for 10 Visorak. But they were dealing with hundreds. And they were so very few. In the end, we know of only one survivor, and we only know him, fittingly, as Kitongu. We do not know how he lived, nor is he willing to share, as he is a Rahi of few words, but his actions speak clearly. He also doesn't speak Matoran, so... Kitongu has been hounding the Visorak for a very, very long time. He tracks them from island to island, culling their numbers and herding the native Rahi population to safety. He has taken the role of an ancient primordial defender, misunderstood, mysterious, and believed by many to be a myth, becoming one of the types of Rahi that there are so few of, that they are only ever whispered about by Matorans who might be seen as a bit off. Wary of strangers, and judging others by their actions over their words. His eyes, hidden behind a single cycloptean lens, can see the true nature of the beings before him. Eventually, Kitongu tracked the horde to the island of Metru Nui, and here his path would change. The Toa team of Metru Nui, the Toa Metru, had run afoul of the Visorak horde and its leaders, Sidorak and Rudaka, and they were poisoned, slowly turning into bestial monsters, the Toa Hordika. To keep a long story short, it was not too late for the Toa yet, as the source of their mutation was something called Hordika venom, a poison, and 5 of the 6 Toa would be guided to track down Keetongu by one of the 6 Rahaga, odd, wise little reptilian creatures. The Toa Hordika would find Keetongu, and he was, I kid you not, meditating at the bottom of a frozen lake. Just cryptid things. The Toa were in shock, and after a quick once-over by Kitongu, he saw that they were noble, if a bit naive and fractious. But Kitongu would not fight a war for them. But he was willing to fight the war with them. And if the team were made whole again, he would heal them from their mutation. This led to the titanic Battle of Metru Nui. Kitongu, for his part in the fight, made straight for the Visorak leadership, moving to cut the head from the snake, and this was the best opportunity he had ever had for his vengeance. He began to climb the monolithic Colosseum Tower, but was eventually heard climbing. He's not exactly a sneaky guy. The scheming Rudaka would then persuade the prideful Sidorak to take care of him. Kitongu would use his instincts, agility, and reflexes to evade all of Sidorak's beam attacks and keep climbing, but was eventually outmaneuvered and knocked all the way to the ground by Rudaka. Rudaka, once again, used her guile to persuade Sidorak to descend the safety of the tower and strike Kitongu down for good. The 2 of them might have even been able to put the big guy down, but Rudaka had other plans, and Sidorak was left alone to get absolutely destroyed by the Cyclops. Seriously, Big K here didn't even bother with a weapon. He just mulched Sidorak with his bare hands and centuries of repressed rage. With the leadership broken, the battle was won, and the Toa team reunited once more. Kitongu was true to his word and cured the Toa of the Hordika venom. This would not be Kitongu's last adventure with the Toa Metru. He found himself aiding the Toa team's leader, Toa Vakama, in his efforts to keep the powerful Mask of Time. I'll get to that later, I promise. To keep that mask out of the hands of the Brotherhood of Makuta. Kitongu would find himself going toe-to-toe with one of his own creators. Kitongu fought well, using all the tools at his disposal, his whirling shield to catch and absorb attacks, using the energy of the absorbed attacks to fire his Rotuka spinner, and using every ounce of his physical might to eventually match the Makuta. And I would like to take a moment to note that Makuta are bloody strong, and Kitongu here was able to match one pound for pound, until the Makuta started busting out his special powers to get the edge. Kitongu was tossed around by gravity manipulation, electrocuted with lightning, and had the chest Rotuka hatch he had welded shut. Damn. This might have been the end for the big guy, but an explosion caused by Vakama drew off Makuta. It was a close call for him, and he was badly hurt. He needed to stay in Metru Nui to recover. In his recovery time, Kitongu became less reclusive and single-minded. He stayed on the island with the Rahaga, wrangled Rahi, and rebuilt the city, forming bonds with others for the first time since he had lost his people. With the return of the Matoran to the island of Metru Nui, Kitongu stayed to help keep the island safe from the scattered remnants of the Visorak horde and other such outside threats. Okay, quick intermission. You guys good? Still with me? Making sense so far? Okay, cool. Because this is going to get really weird really fast. I'll do my best. Spoilers ahead for the end of Bionicle. Kitongu was contacted by the very first Toa, Toa Helrix, leader of the Order of Mata Nui, a secretive force trying to keep Mata Nui alive. She approached him with a deal. Help me, and the Visorak horde will be vanquished forever. Kitongu agreed. Together they went to the island of Ninra and stumbled across a living being made of energized protodermis, basically the lifeblood of the universe. The creature was pissed and attempted to destroy the duo by hitting them with a wave of, well, itself. You see, energized protodermis is incredibly dangerous. It can mutate you into a monster. It can upgrade you under very specific circumstances, or it can wipe you off the face of the universe. It's a gamble you probably shouldn't take. Kitongu and Helrix were staring down certain doom, until they were saved by the most unexpected source. A murderous lizard man on an uncontrollable teleportation trip. Meanwhile, a Skakti known as Vizon had the misfortune of having a mask of dimensional gates fused to his head. It happened more often than you think, and was desperately trying to get it under control while being Doctor Stranged through the multiverse. While desperately flailing, he ended up on Ninra in the same chamber where Kitongu and Helrix were about to meet their end, and accidentally pulled them along for Mr. Vizon's wild ride. Eventually, the two would split off from Vizon and end up in the central processing chamber of the Great Spirit Robot. Long story. They came across the disgraced Makuta, Miserix, the Toa Haga, formerly the mutated Rahaga, Axon and Brutaka, members of the Order of Mata Nui, and, the strangest of all, Zaktan, another Skakti who had been mutated into a snake, who was the former leader of the Paraka. Each will be getting their own video in due time. I know that's a lot of information right now, but let's just focus on the big, murderous yellow boy. Here they learned that Mata Nui's spirit had been ejected out of the Great Spirit Robot by Makuta Pterodax, the Makuta I've been talking about, who was now master of the Matoran universe in its entirety. Oh no! After boasting of his success and victory, he sent Kitongu, along with Axon and Brutaka, to the Southern Islands, a very dangerous place in the Matoran universe. Here, Kitongu suddenly had a feeling. He sensed the resurgence of the Visorak horde, so he left Axon and Brutaka to quell the rising threat in the south. His revenge was not over. During the dark days of Pterodax's rule over the universe, Kitongu would do what he did best. Stomping spiders for days. He was actually instrumental in holding the line against the Visorak horde, and kept them penned into the southern islands, giving his allies time and space to handle Pterodax's other forces of darkness in the north. This is some classic Lord of the Rings stuff right here. After Pterodax's defeat and the landing of the Great Spirit Robot on the planet of Spherus Magna, Kitongu was finally at peace. The Visorak were destroyed, his people were avenged, and his friends were now safe in their new home. Kitongu would use his immense might, empathy, and connection with the world around him to rehome the Rahi beasts of the Matoran universe in this new habitat. And that's the tale of Kitongu, a unique outlier in the world of Bionicle that's far too slept on. And I'm part of the problem too. I would forget about this guy on the regular, and he is way cooler than I remember. Truly, a unique being with an expansive, rich narrative. It's a real shame his role is so limited in the world, but he was always one with the world. True to himself, and a great example of a sleeping giant. Sounds like a good way to live. Thank you for tuning into Beef Snake Nerdcast. I've been Bolter, your chronicler. If you like this video, go ahead and click on the buttons, all those buttons below, you know the ones, and you can find me on the social links in the description. Please tune in next time when I give you the first rundown on Raiden from Mortal Kombat. Until then, may the Great Spirit watch over you.
Thank you.